A young girl from Japan is suddenly teleported to another world and reincarnated as a level 1 spider. Realizing that she's stuck like that, she must find a way to level up in the realm to survive and have a chance of returning to her former world. Episode 1. On what seems to be a normal day in a high school, there's an explosion that destroys everything. A student who was there at the time finds herself in a dark cave and soon realizes that she's been reincarnated as a small spider named Kumoko in another world. Initially, she refuses to accept this reality, but eventually accepts her fate and decides to find a way out of the spider's nest. Unfortunately, in her attempt, she's confronted by a giant spider that turns out to be her mother. Just then, she sees the mother eating some of her children, and a terrified Kumoko quickly tries to run away. After getting to safety, she thinks of ways to survive in this strange world, and suddenly hears a voice telling her that she has 100 skill points that she can use to obtain the appraisal skill. She shakes off the initial confusion and decides to take action, hoping that the appraisal skill would give her insane powers like in the mangas. However, she's disappointed to find out that it's just a level 1 skill that gives her basic information about the new world she's in. Based on her experience as a gamer in her past life, Kumoko is intended on leveling up and hopes to gain more experience points. While searching for something to eat, she is surrounded by monsters that are stronger than her, and she soon realizes that she can produce webs. After using her webs to make a home for herself, she remembers seeing other spiders eating themselves, and then she forces to eat a spider corpse, desperate to survive even though it tastes disgusting. Afterward, she gains the title of Kin Eater, which gives her the skills of taboo and heretic magic, so she learns how to use the new skills. Sometime later, she catches a blue frog in her webs, but when she goes close, it spits poison at her, and although it's extremely painful, she gains the skill of acid resistance. Enraged by the sting of the frog's attack, she charges toward it and kills it. Elsewhere, a party is being held for students that have been accepted into the Royal Magic Academy. Among the students are Schlain, the 4th prince of Anolite Kingdom, a noblewoman named Carnatia, a girl named Philemos, Schlain's younger sister named Sue, and his pet dragon, Faye. Philemos then introduces Schlain and the others to a boy named Hugo, who happens to be a prince, and then a girl named Yuri. It turns out that these students are all Kumoko's classmates, who also reincarnated as a result of the explosion and are now attending the Royal Academy. Schlain reveals that he's a student named Shunsuke, while Carnatia's name from her past life is Kanata. At the time, Hugo and Yuri reveal that they were also reincarnated, and their real names are Natsume and Yuika respectively. After the class teacher, who was also reincarnated as an elf named Miss Oka, gathers the students, they all realize that they've been reincarnated into another world. Meanwhile, back in the dark cave, Kumoko forces herself to eat the corpse of the blue frog to survive, and ends up increasing her acid resistance level. Kumoko remembers how she was bullied by the girls in her class in her past life. The next day at the Royal Academy, Shunsuke appears with Natsume and tells him that he wants to follow in the footsteps of his older brother Julius, who is the hero of the kingdom. A while later, Faye talks with Shunsuke and suggests that she's been reincarnated into this world as punishment for bullying a girl in their class named Hiro Wakaba in her past life. Faye then asks Miss Oka if she's been able to find Wakaba, and she reveals that she hasn't. Meanwhile, back in the cave, Kumoko continues eating other frogs, and eventually raises her poison fangs to level 2. Kumoko suddenly feels her skin cracking, and she emerges from the old skin without a single blemish, as all her former injuries and burns have disappeared. She then finds out that she's progressed to level 2. A while later, she discovers that a human has been caught in her webs and is trapped. To save the same, she sets fire to the webs and destroys her home in the process. The terrified human quickly runs away, but drops a large egg in his haste. With her former home destroyed, Kumoko decides to build an even bigger and stronger home for herself, using her upgraded skill levels. Soon, Kumoko gets hungry again and attempts to eat the egg the man left behind, but quickly realizes that it's too strong. When her appraisal level goes up to level 2, she's able to discern that it's a wyvern egg. Just then, human soldiers return and set her home ablaze again, but she manages to escape. Once she gets to safety, she remembers how weak she was in her past life, and is frustrated that she also can't defend herself in this world. As a result, she resolves that she's going to get stronger so she doesn't feel weak anymore. Over the next few days, Kumoko spends her time catching and killing frogs and lizards to gain more experience points, and eventually gets to level 7 at the end. Unfortunately, her new nest is also attacked, this time by a giant snake. After an intense battle, Kumoko kills the snake by biting its neck, causing her to reach level 10 and evolve into a small pterodactyl. Back at the academy, Faye decides she might as well try to get stronger herself. Just when Kumiko is getting confident about her new strengths, she's ambushed by a group of human knights. Realizing that she's outnumbered and outmatched, she runs away as fast as she can, but gets distracted by some monsters, causing her to fall down a cliff. Meanwhile, at the Royal Academy, the students are gathered for combat and magic lessons. They use their wands to practice water magic and aim at targets that have been set for them. Shun, Shunsuke, and Kanata immediately display great skill on their first try, while Yuika finds it difficult to use magic. Just then, a giant earth dragon emerges from the ground and attacks the students. Natsume immediately steps forward to face the beast so he can show off his strength. However, his fire magic doesn't work on the dragon, and he's instantly knocked to the side. Shunsuke, on the other hand, decides that he's going to emulate his heroic brother Julius. Summoning the courage to fight, he draws out his sword and charges at the dragon along with Kanata, Yuika, and Sue, who all combine their powers to fight the beast. Natsuke gets back to his feet and joins the fight, but ends up causing chaos on the battlefield with his reckless attacks. When Faye jumps up to bite the dragon's neck, Shunsuke finally gets a chance to kill the dragon, and he uses it to slay the beast by cutting its head off. He immediately receives praise for the feat, causing a jealous Natsume to storm out in anger. Afterward, Faye realizes that she now has the Kin Eater title because it turns out that the large dragon was one of her relatives. Back in the cave, Kumiko finds herself in the deeper parts of the abyss, where she sees that she's surrounded by monsters that are a lot more powerful than she is. After being chased by some bees, she manages to escape while 3 huge snakes fight the bees. Just then, a huge level 37 earth dragon called Araba emerges and instantly devours all the other monsters. Araba finishes eating the other monsters with just Kumiko remaining. She tries to hide, but he notices her. At this point, Kumiko knows she is no match for the dragon and just accepts her fate, but Araba turns around and walks away from her. Afterward, she activates her stealth skill and uses it to navigate the deeper parts of the cave while staying off the radar of other monsters. As she wanders around the cave, she's once again disappointed that she isn't strong enough to defend herself. Using her appraisal skill, Kumiko soon realizes that she's in the Great Elro Labyrinth lower stratum. As she stealthily explores the cave, she still can't find any prey around because all the monsters around here are significantly stronger than her. Her stamina is almost completely depleted, and she needs to find food as soon as possible. Luckily, she encounters small blue dinosaurs that appear to be weaker than her, so she attacks them and captures them in her webs. After poisoning and consuming her prey, Kumiko gains the title of Poison Master, which gives her the skills of poison magic and poison synthesis. Not long after acquiring this skill, an ape-like monster emerges from the darkness and attempts to attack her. She guesses that it's probably stronger than her, so she runs away and manages to escape. However, she's immediately confronted by another, smaller monkey that swiftly attacks her. Using her webs and poison, Kumiko manages to strangle and kill the monkey, but before it dies, it lets out a scream. Killing the monkey turns out to be a huge mistake, because in no time, the numerous relatives of the deceased monkey locate the origin of the scream and eventually find Kumiko. Seeking revenge, they immediately attack her with stones, prepared to kill her. Left with no other choice, Kumiko is forced to fight the entire army of monkeys to save herself. After a long and deadly battle, Kumiko survives thanks to the skill that heals her upon leveling up. She stands over her enemies with pride, having defeated all the monkeys, and suddenly finds what seems to be the path back to the upper part of the cave. But instead, the path leads her to the middle level of the cave, which is filled with lava. At this lava level of the cave, Kumiko realizes that she doesn't stand a chance at the new monsters as they are all able to burn her webs. Eventually, she finds herself safely at the bottom area where she evolves into a small poison Teratech for the more potent venom. Using skill points, she also obtains a new skill called Pride, which allows her to level up faster, but also unlocks unholy and dark magic abilities she is uncertain of. Meanwhile, at the academy, Shunsuke is impressed with Faye's progress as she has evolved several times, and they are both more popular after they manage to defeat the Earth Dragon. Faye shows concern over Yuika, who is becoming increasingly fanatical in her religious beliefs, and asks Shunsuke to tell her if he ever comes across someone with a taboo skill, because they are the unholiest of sinners and should be eliminated. Shunsuke is surprised that, as a hero, his brother Julius is under the patronage of the Word of God Church. Back in the labyrinth, Kumiko is frustrated she can't use any of the magic abilities she keeps unlocking. Returning to the lava lake, she comes across giant flaming fish monsters and realizes she can kill them by tricking them into swallowing balls of her poison. Kumiko also gets interested in a skill called the Ruler of Pride, which she has not yet unlocked. Not far away from where Kumiko is, Julius and his army of knights approach the lava lake. At the camp they set up, Julius reveals to his comrades that they are hunting a spider monster. Kumiko realizes one of her magic skills allow her to see a few seconds into the future. She uses her new skills to defeat a giant eel that attacks her and then uses its corpse as a shelter so she can evolve into a Zoa-El spider with higher combat and stealth, ignoring the fact that humans consider Zoa-El to be bad luck. After evolving, she discovers that her front legs are now as sharp as knives and her body has generated armor plates. Obtaining the Perseverance skill, she's now more likely to survive with low health. She also becomes able to use detection to better sense her surroundings along with dual perception, which gives her 2 distinct minds so she can multitask more efficiently. Julius and his team are attacked by 3 greater Pterodactyls and an even higher level Pterodact, the Nightmare's Vestige. Julius kills the Pterodact and then manages to kill the Vestige with his team, but as they prepare to leave, Julius suspects that the Vestige was afraid of something that they didn't see. Somewhere else, it turns out a demon lord was watching the Vestige which had betrayed her. Meanwhile, Shunsuke gets even more popular as a result of Julius' feat, which makes Natsume even more jealous. During an excursion to the mountains, Shunsuke is attacked by Natsume, who reveals he intends to kill all the students and tell everyone that they were attacked by monsters. Thankfully, Miss Oka intervenes just in time to defeat Natsume before using an unknown skill to take away all of his powers. Meanwhile, Kumiko is finally feeling satisfied with her growth and progress, but is quite disappointed that she can't evolve when she maxes out her appraisal skills. She suddenly receives a message that a person called Senior Administrator received her complaint and crafted a wisdom skill for her. However, this information gets Kumiko frightened because it implies there is a godlike being watching her every move. Back at the academy, Natsume is suddenly approached by a girl claiming to be one of the missing reincarnations. She offers to help him and he vows to have his revenge against Shunsuke and Miss Oka. Natsume and Shunsuke are both princes of different kingdoms, so Natsume's attempt to kill Shunsuke is covered up to prevent a war between their 2 kingdoms. Sometime later, Shunsuke reminisces about his life in Japan when they were all good friends. Back then, Natsume was arrogant, but at least he was harmless. He also remembers the class loner, Wakaba, being bullied by Faye and a boy named Kyoya. At school, Oka tells him that Kyoya is alive and well, but refuses to tell them his whereabouts. They then confront Oka about her refusing to discuss the dead or missing reincarnations and ask about Wakaba. Meanwhile, Kumiko learns her second mind has been spending time learning magical theory, allowing her to begin using actual magic. Soon, the dual perception levels up again, granting her 3 minds instead of 2, and decides her third mind will focus exclusively on learning magic while she and her second mind focus on staying alive and leveling up. A while later, she's attacked by an injured fire dragon, so she tries to blast it with a magic poison bomb, but it is blown away by her fireball. Kumiko manages to unlock a 4th mind, which she uses as a second magical consciousness. However, the dragon traps her and unleashes a giant fireball at her. Meanwhile, back in the academy, Oka informs Shunsuke and the other students that Wakaba is dead. Sometime later, Julius returns from his most recent quest, and Shunsuke is delighted to see him. He informs Shunsuke and Sue that he's going to the Empire to fight the demons as his next mission. It is revealed that Faye was brought as a dragon egg 15 years ago from a cave. It turns out that this egg is the same egg that Kumiko tried to eat when the human left it behind. This means that Kumiko's story is set 15 years before that of Shunsuke and the others. Meanwhile, in the labyrinth, it turns out that Kumiko created an illusion to make the dragon think that it attacked her with a massive fireball. With help from all 4 of her minds, she uses abyss magic to kill the dragon. However, she is then confronted by a mysterious man with administrative privileges who sense the dragon's death. They're unable to communicate because they speak different languages. A smartphone suddenly appears out of nowhere, and the caller then communicates with the mysterious man, before addressing Kumiko and introducing herself as D. Realizing she has been watching her, Kumiko asks what Administrator D wants, and she just tells her she wants entertainment before abruptly ending the call. In the Demon Realm, the Demon Lord holds a meeting with her generals and declares war on the humans. Back at the academy, Shunsuke suddenly unlocks the hero title, which implies that Julius has been killed. Still perplexed by Administrator D, Kumiko finds a route back to the upper stratum. In the present, Shunsuke meets with the royal family to discuss his new title, and he's informed that he must quit the academy to take over as the hero immediately. On the remains of the battlefield between the humans and demons, the magician, Ronan, Julius' former magic tutor, is enraged by his death and recalls a time 15 years ago when he and a team of soldiers enter a labyrinth to investigate a monster outbreak. They discover that the cause was a Terratect scaring away all the other monsters, and a battle followed, which left Ronan and the party leader as the only survivors. When Ronan is informed that a Queen Terratect appeared on a battlefield, Ronan suspects it might be connected to Zoella from 15 years ago. Back in the past, it is revealed that the Terratect was, in fact, Kumiko, who gathered enough experience points to evolve yet again. However, this also causes her taboo skill to reach max level, and she passes out. Shunsuke feels nervous about replacing Julius as the hero, so Faye convinces him to form a pact with her, enabling him to summon her if he's ever in danger. However, this pact causes Faye to evolve and revert into an egg. Shunsuke later meets with Hirons, the only survivor of Julius' party, who tells him that they were all killed by a mysterious girl in white, and that he only survived because Julius gave him his revival item. After hearing the story, Shunsuke takes Hirons as a new teammate. Back in the past, as a result of her taboo skill reaching level 10, Kumiko starts getting visions of an imminent apocalypse, but struggles to make sense of it all. In the end, she concludes that she needs to get stronger so she can save the world, and so she decides to fight the dragon Araba, and begins relentlessly leveling up by clearing out monsters that might get in the way. When Kumiko is done with the training, Araba arrives to challenge her. As a huge showdown ensues, Kumiko and Araba find themselves evenly matched. Kumiko manages to get the upper hand by trapping the Earth Dragon in a web that she had prepared before the fight. However, Araba then uses all the skill points he had accumulated to acquire abilities that Kumiko is vulnerable to. Despite the odds being stacked against her, Kumiko shakes off the fleeting thought of giving up, and ultimately resolves to fight to the end. Just when Araba is about to finish her off, however, the Earth Dragon suddenly collapses. It turns out that Kumiko had to use the skill she acquired beforehand to drain Araba's stamina until he gave in to his exhaustion, because she knew that she couldn't win the dragon one-on-one. Now having the upper hand again, Kumiko prepares to deliver the killing blow, and so Araba finally surrenders, feeling satisfied with her battle. However, this enrages Kumiko, and she kills the dragon, but feels bad afterward. In the present, the Demon Lord reminisces about the time she fought an Earth Dragon. Elsewhere, Shunsuke vows to avenge Julius, but unbeknownst to him, Natsume is plotting revenge against him at the same time. Back in the past, after defeating Araba, Kumiko finally finds a way out of the labyrinth by following a tracker spell that she placed on the humans from the earlier encounter. That brings us to the end of today's recap on the anime So I'm a Spider, So What? I hope you enjoyed this recap as much as I did. Please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and kindly comment below if you would like to see the next part. Bye and thanks for watching. See you next time.